And I think we're live, yes? All righty. Believe it or not, we made it. We're live.
Yeah, I would just chit-chat for a minute.
All right. So let us know when you are set. We are still working our way through debugging technical difficulties. So if you can hear us but not see us, or see us but not hear us, we are also having to contend with next door neighbors setting off fireworks. And so if you hear bottle rockets, cherry bombs, or anything of that ilk, we may have to, just because it's shortly after the 4th of July, contend with that sound noise. And I'm not too worried about it because it normally fireworks attract the Ponte.
That's right, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe it's a good thing. There you go.
Yep.
But we are live from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Sandia Mountain is just right behind us here.
Yep, and it's at sunset. We had hoped to go live about 15 minutes ago, but we're here now, and thank you for your patience. I'm Sue Walker, and I live here. This is my backyard, and I'm the human telepathic translator for the Twitter account at Sandia Wisdom. It was in this house here, and that Tilcom contacted us for the very first time back in 2013. Come the fall equinox, it will be exactly 10 years.
Wow.
That Tilcom first started talking to us.
Wow.
So I'm going to let this kind gentleman next to me introduce himself.
I'm Kevin Estrella, also known as the guitarist from the band Pyramids of Mars. I'm also the host of Pyramids of Mars UFO Radio on the Artist First Network, which you should check out. Lots of interviews on there with experiencers and hybrids and researchers and people who have contact with the Sasquatch. It's a great place to learn. But I've had contact with the Ponte since about 2017, along with many other star nations. And it's been quite a wonderful adventure. Not only the Ponte, but the Sasquatch as well. Last night I had activity with sleeping in the camper last night, and the camper was rocking back and forth like I was on the ocean, like they always do when I come visit here. So it's always a hoot visiting Sue and Otter. I am so happy to be here, honestly.
The Ponte have been actively talking with us back and forth about various things all day. We did specifically invite them to this CE5. Whether or not they show up in the backyard, I can't tell you. But if we spot them in the sky, we will have our favorite cameraman and all-around excellent electrician and wireman, Mr. Dale over here, pan up to the sky. You notice that we are a little bit green on your screen. That's because it's already so dusky that we weren't sure that we could rely on the regular camera mode, so he's already gone to the night vision mode for this event. We may or may not have another Rio Rancho visitors show up this evening, and if we do, we'll pull up another chair. And if not, we have already had conversations of all kinds of different ilk, and part of this will be us kibitzing with each other about topics that haven't necessarily gone public before, because we have, between Kevin's house in the Toronto, Canada area and our house here, we have such regular activity that it becomes normal. And then when we get together, because he has also extremely regular activity at your house.
Very much.
And part of that's because we purposefully opened our homes and told the Ponte that not only could they come at any time that they wished, but also they could bring the trainees who needed practice visiting Earth human homes. And that's part of the reason why we have traffic at unexpected hours, anytime, day or night. And that's become so normal. It's they'll walk by and it's, oh hey.
Yeah. Or, oh, I just got another bump from the back of the couch. How you doing?
Yeah,
Nice
how
for
you
you guys
doing?
to drop by. Yeah, it is Friday night. It is Saturday night. You know.
Yeah. What's up?
Yeah. So.
So anyway, you may see us as we're here suddenly turn and look somewhere else or point out something to each other. So if you see something or hear something, flag me and I'll
Okay.
do the same.
Yeah.
The last time we got together last September here, we were sitting outside and had all kinds of rustling and activity of somebody walking back and forth under the grape arbor because you could hear
Yeah.
the grape leaves moving.
Just like 20 feet from us right now.
Yes.
It was something with inside the wall because it's like it's a mortar wall and it's about 4 feet tall. And there was something very heavy that was walking along the wall there.
Yeah.
We thought it was a
Boom.
big animal.
Boom, boom. Well, it was bipedal.
It was bipedal.
I had to listen for
Yeah,
a while
yeah.
to catch it because it didn't, it was only a couple, 3 strides and then stopped. And then a couple, 3 strides and then stopped
Whoa.
again. Well, good evening, Rio Rancho visitor. We are live and on air. If you would like to be live and on air with us,
It's recording. It's
Then-
a hard drive, but I can't get online, and I lost the Wi-Fi connection.
oh shit.
Oh, jeez.
Okay.
Everything you did got recorded. Very
Okay.
Well.
Okay.
And we're still recording.
It's recording. But
Okay.
It's not live.
How you
Anyone
doing?
on YouTube can't see it.
All right,
I don't
all
know
right.
how that
So we are having technical difficulties, but I'm glad you're here. We've been trying to figure out how to get live and stay live. Now, is there a way to connect your live connection with your ATEM unit to my laptop? Didn't know if we could or not. Well, shoots. As you can see, we are having some minor technical difficulties, being this is the very first time we have ever done this live and in person. And our dear cameraman just informed us that we might be a little far away from our in-house Wi-Fi unit. So we're going to try some other tricks to the trade. All right, I am signed in. Where do you need to go here?
Open up this.
Uh-huh. Got it.
Yeah, I'll let you.
Double click.
Yep.
All right, so what else would you like? No switcher connected. Boom. I don't know what that means, and so I don't know where to steer you from here.
Yeah. It's just.
Oh, there we go. There it is. So we are so far. Come on the other side of Kevin for the moment. That way, if he needs to go back and forth, we aren't tripping over each other. But Mel, this is Kevin from Toronto, Kevin Estrella, and we'll introduce you to Dale, our
How you doing?
cameraman, after he's not so engrossed in trying to figure out problems.
Definitely.
Mel is an experiencer from the local area. And how long have you, when did you first start having experiences?
In my awakening aware state.
Yes.
It started in 2015.
In
the
2015.
summer,
Okay.
and I was driving back from White Sands with a friend, and
Could you maybe sit a little closer to him?
Yeah,
Because he's
buddy
got
up
the
here
mic.
because you don't have a
you don't have a
microphone on,
microphone, so
and we do. And so we have this advantage. So, yep.
may have to
Either
speak
that
up
or you
just a
can
bit.
just pass the clip on over to her for a moment,
Yeah,
or,
yeah.
or hold it. Why don't you hold it like a microphone and pass it back and
Interview
forth? There you go.
thanks. That works.
So, tell everybody what you'd like to be called.
oh sure, you can call me Mel or Melanie. That's fine.
Okay.
Either one.
And we were starting to say, you were saying your first experiences with that were conscious. were on a trip back from White Sands, New Mexico to here, to
Yes.
Albuquerque area.
Yes.
Okay. And what happened?
Yes, so I was traveling with a friend, and it was about this time that we were headed back home. We had just picked up a meal to drive through, and at that point, the drive was probably about 3 hours.
Yeah,
About.
yeah.
And, you know,
Makes sense to hear, sure.
and she's like, well, now what? You know, because it was a long drive, and, you know, she didn't want to be bored. And I said, well, let's look for a UFO.
Yeah.
And she said, well, how do I do that? And I said, well, it's easy, just look up. And so she looked at me like I was crazy, and I completely forgot about it a little bit later as we were driving. But by the time we got to Bingham, New Mexico,
Okay.
which is past Carrizozo
Okay.
area, which is really quiet, you know, people live out
Southern Central New
there,
Mexico.
rural-ish, you
Uh-huh.
know, people are kind of spread apart. No street lights. Definitely no street lights. It was pitch black. And, you know, I kind of saw her looking through the window. I thought she was looking at the stars, because that's
Yeah.
normally what I would do. And eventually she said, I keep seeing this thing in the sky, and it's moving all over the place.
Oh, well, that's a
And-
good sign.
And I was like, well, what does it look like? And she's like, I don't know. It's just all over the place. And she couldn't really tell. So I was driving, and I peeked through the windshield to kind of see what it was, or if I could see anything. Well, I saw the clouds, but I definitely saw this cluster of orange lights, and they were different sized lights. So there was no blinking, no buzzing, no sound, nothing. It was just hovering. And then I was looking at it for a few seconds, and then it just disappeared. And then I thought, oh my God. So I grabbed my phone, pressed record, I gave it to her so I could pull
Really?
over.
Okay. All right. So you were still.
I was on it.
Oh.
I was like, okay. I was like, I think I know what this is. And of course I thought
So
it
as
was a
soon as you
UFO.
bailed out of the car, I'm sure it was camera to the sky.
Yeah, we pulled over.
Was it hard to find?
It wasn't.
Really?
Because as soon as I stepped out of the car, she had the phone at that point. She was recording, and I didn't think anything of it because I was just glued to the sky. And sure enough, this orange thing was zipping all over the sky. It was bouncing this way, that direction. There was no pattern, no, it didn't make sense to me.
Uh-huh.
And other than it was showing off, all right? And so by that point, we watched it for a little bit, and then it just zipped off.
Okay.
And she didn't think really. I don't know. I don't really know what she thought of it.
Okay.
She
Was it close?
She was still in question. Like, I don't know what that was, and I was like, that was a UFO.
How close to you was it? Was it close enough that
It was yards because I mean it
yards?
Was, yes, I mean it was.
Whoa!
Because it was going distances super quick. Like it would zip that
Okay.
way, and then this way, and then
Estimated size.
It was. Oh man, that is a good question.
Bigger than a bread box. Bigger than a
than-
car.
I would say car to a bus size, maybe.
Okay, so
To
like
me, it was
small
probably
plane
like
size?
It was a small craft.
Okay.
And I actually have the video on YouTube.
I have seen your video on YouTube,
Oh,
and it
yeah.
is excellent.
The still frame shots. are
And
pretty
your
amazing.
description is perfect. What shape?
I couldn't really see a shape,
Okay,
but
fair enough.
the still frames you can kind of see a shape, but I still can't really tell. But if you look closely, it looks like it could have been a dome
Uh-huh.
type.
All right, so saucer with a small dome
Saucer, yep.
versus an oval.
Right.
Definitely not a triangle.
No.
Okay.
No. Could have
Okay.
been, but
Did you get any sense of communication at all?
not that night.
Oh, ooh, the story
this is going
continues.
somewhere.
It really
I'm
is.
liking
Chapter 2.
this.
Grab your popcorn.
Yeah.
So after that night, I could not stop thinking about these beings.
Right.
Who was it? Because I knew what it was. And she was still like, I don't know. And at that point, I had been listening to Bashar for years, and so I had known about extraterrestrial beings, and then I started dreaming about them.
Oh,
And they were almost every night. I was dreaming about it every night. And so I think those dreams were actually memories,
I think you're right.
because as time unfolded, I was being awoken to eventually being abducted, like being lifted out of bed
Right.
in the middle of the night when I lived downtown. But this right after this incident, I sat with my friend and I said, "Can we sit together and have a meditation? Because I have the intention to connect with whoever it was in that jet." She agreed to it. I think she had different intentions, but those were my intentions, and so I knew the power of two in a meditation
Right.
is, more powerful. So through that meditation, I opened up myself to communicate, and I eventually saw a gray being with big black eyes, and he put his forehead to my forehead.
Oh, wow.
And he telepathically spoke to me, and he said that we are family, and that, that I had kind of called them in.
Yes.
And of course, he confirmed that they were kind of just showing off. And one of the messages that he said to me that I'll never forget was, "Those with the light will advance."
Ha 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 ha. Nice phrasing.
Yeah. So it was
Good
very,
to know.
very simple, quick to the point.
Uh-huh.
And so I never forgot that. And then the back of my heart chakra opened,
Right.
which was a very amazing, powerful experience
I can believe
in that
that.
meditation. And then my friend had asked me a question, and I was like interrupted a little bit. But from that point on, I've had open experiences with them, with intentionally contacting them in my own backyard.
Nice.
And I've seen them most recently in Rio Rancho, and I have that on video, and that shows red orbs showing up out of the sky out of nowhere, and they're
Okay.
just descending downwards, and then another one shows up and descends downwards, and it just keeps happening like a couple
Wow.
times.
Wow, wow.
So,
That's cool.
I mean, there's other things, but that's kind of where it started.
That's
In
awesome.
2015.
Well, why don't you continue going on?
Oh, sure.
Put this on there. All right, there. Keep going.
Awesome. Where do
So after 2015 and all of those and the dream experiences, I don't know if I want to say dream teaching, dream learning,
Right.
all of those things, are you still having experiences with the Ponte?
I have had experiences. One of the things that I can recall, again, one of the nights I was being lifted from my bed.
Right?
And that to me, I knew what was happening right away. And that was in about 2019 when I lived downtown in Albuquerque.
Okay.
And to me, out of all places, in such a busy area, but I mean, I guess it can happen
Oh, sure.
anywhere.
It's not very hard for them to do the Jedi Knight trick. These are not the droids you're looking for.
Oh, yeah.
And influence the people who suddenly go, "Oh, what's that?" and just switch them off.
Right.
Go on about your business.
Yeah.
And they do.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's kind of what happened to me. I was fully aware of what was happening when my body was being lifted out of the bed, because I could see the lights through my eyelids. And I thought to myself, well, I think I know what's going on, which I thought I was being abducted and taken. And I thought, well, I'm going to open my eyes and see.
They're called wellness visits.
Wellness
Yes,
visits. Oh,
wellness
they're checking
checks.
on me. Okay, yeah.
That's right.
They're probably checking on me more than likely, because usually if I ask them to take me, I kind of like to experiment sometimes. if I ask them to take me, they will. You know, within a couple of weeks, I'll have something strange happen, or I'll have an incident like this. And so from there, it really just expanded into, well, then why are they taking me?
Right.
You know, and so,
Exactly.
and then when I opened my eyes to see what was really happening, I saw, didn't see my ceiling, I saw a cluster of white and blue lights that were above my bed, and my body was being lifted up.
Were the white and blue lights in any kind of a pattern?
It did look like the seed of life, like the flower of life.
Ah, all right.
And it was
The
like
plot
dot to
thickens.
dot, but I could still make out the pattern.
Nice.
Like it was very blue, but still very white.
That's great.
And then I passed out
Yes.
because, you know, they don't
When
want
you
to do that.
think about
Awake.
being lifted up, did you feel any kind of a pressure sensation on your skin at all? Or was it nothing but air?
It was very weightless and featherless. You know,
Okay.
it really felt like, I mean, I guess if I put that focus and attention around my body, I'm sure there was some type of energetic casing or whatever they do around the
I just
body.
didn't know if you remembered perceiving anything.
But I don't remember. I just really remember my body being weightless. You know, and I was conscious, completely conscious up until because I wanted to be awake. I wanted to experience all of that. But later I started getting regressions to ask questions to figure out what was going on.
Okay. Did that help?
It did, because I asked about that incident, and what came forward was that they had to put me back out to sleep because the process of that being abducted, they have to break the body down in such a cellular, like molecule type of way, and then they have to basically reconstruct it when they bring you back up to where they are. So whatever technology they have, you know, along this, probably Star Trek, if anybody else knows about teleporting.
Right.
But, you know, I really learned that I couldn't be awake.
Okay.
So that's as far as I know is that part.
Did you experience any overwhelm from the first time you were coming back from White Sands? Did you see the streak?
Ooh, I didn't
I've
know.
seen one flashing light over in this direction, and then I just now saw a very brief, very thin streak high up.
Right.
So I don't see it now, but all right, our cameraman, as we speak and talk and kibitz, is going to randomly point his camera up at the sky to see if we pick out anything at all in the Albuquerque sky space, and you know, a variety of particular spots, just to see what we pick up. And right now it's partly cloudy, calm. We can hear the insects buzzing like cicadas next door. You'll hear the traffic go by, and occasionally our dearly beloved neighbors are setting off their fireworks. And so if you hear a boom in the background, that's what it'd be.
There's little to no wind.
No, it's very nice.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Just gorgeous night. Okay, so when you think about your experiences with the Ponte, how did you go from having those experiences to connecting the dots with the Ponte at the Sandia Mountain Station? How did that connection occur?
Yeah, probably when I was being regressed, when I was learning more, and there took a few regressions, but I learned not only was I being taken as an adult, but I was also taken as a child.
That makes sense.
And so I was taken probably from the start of age 3.
That makes sense too.
And they would take me for classes.
Okay.
Okay. And these would be psychic abilities classes.
Yes.
And so I am actually going to be sharing some psychic ability teachings with people
Oh,
if
neat.
they're wanting to learn. But
Awesome. I know a number of the Twitter followers
Oh, my-
would instantly raise their hands
Okay.
and go, me, I do.
Yeah.
What
But
do we do so that I learn?
Right. Well, I really learned that that was my calling through the
Mm-hmm.
regression. After I had that regression, I went home and I thought about it, and I was like, oh, it just was like a light bulb. I'm here to help teach or awaken those abilities in
Okay.
other people.
Cool beans.
And so it's been a process. You know, the details, of course, and you mentioned overwhelm. If there was any overwhelm, there always is, you know, when you learn a little bit more information about, you know, the classes you're taken to, or, you know, I was even taken to the mothership where there was all types of beings there. You know, that's when I saw a little bit more at the age of 13. And of course, you know, that would be around the time for hybridization program. And
Yes.
so, of course, there was more overwhelm there because I learned not only was I having visitations, that I was being a part of a bigger mission.
Yes.
And so I was still learning about that, and I'm still learning about that part. And so I figure I'm still being taken. I'm aware I have implants. And so I'm working on dissolving those negative constructs,
Right.
you know, those negative attachments.
Right, right.
And so that's kind of a topic I'm learning about most recently, is that the negative and positive attachments that we have with extraterrestrials, you know, just like humans. But, you know, connection with the Ponti, it really just came through these regressions. And then I started kind of getting pings and messages from them as well.
Okay.
When I lived downtown, that was when I was just getting more information and downloads and knowledge and dreams. And
What'd you do with all this information you had? Did you have family that was supportive? Did you have friends that you told? How did you cope with it and the intensity of it back then?
right, that's a really good question. I think most of it I held in because I was trying to process it and figure it out.
Yeah, okay. Fair.
And I was also trying to figure out, well, who could I talk to about this? And so I wrote some of it down, and I drew pictures.
Good for you.
And just kind of gathered the information.
Yeah.
But yet it was also very observant about things that were happening around me,
Okay.
because I would constantly see things in the sky. I always do.
Yes.
It never fails.
Yeah. For us, Kevin and I guess I would have to say, we both feel like there's constant connection in some fashion, and it's very seldom that I go outside or travel outside of the city to go somewhere across country that we don't, one, frequently see folks in the sky, and two, have what we've come to term a Ponti babysitter who tracks us when we leave town, stays with us wherever we arrive, and follows us back. Now, we've known, Otter and I have known about that since about 2016, 15, 16, somewhere in there. And we also were informed that people who came to see us and then left oftentimes would have a ship following them on the way home, that was not uncommon. And so they're checking out the people that visit us. And so when we talk to people who we interview with things, you know, or visit with them locally, if it goes out onto Twitter or if it goes out on YouTube or whatever, we do warn them and say, by the way, keep your eyes open a little bit more. In the next couple of days, you may see or experience more stuff, especially if they become interested in you, if they think you're right-minded. And so we had, where were we? It was between Christmas and New Year's in, I think, 16, and Otter and I were in Tombstone, Arizona, and Clifford Mahooty came to visit us there with a friend at the time, a female companion. I don't remember who now, but
Probably Diana.
I think it was. And so he visited us in Tombstone, and we were talking about the Ponte, and they hadn't gotten 30 minutes outside of Tombstone heading back to Albuquerque when they started having experiences.
Yeah, Diana showed me the pictures, and there was
Yes.
there was a ship that was following them.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember
Yes.
that. Yeah.
And so that wasn't unusual, and we also began to notice that if we were invited to a podcast and were interviewed, about half of those people or more got visited within, 10 days, 2 weeks, something like that.
Yeah.
Whether they believed in ETs or not, they got visited.
There was
So-
a Twitter follower many years ago where he just started following the Ponte, and after 2 weeks, he took his daughter down to Niagara Falls, and we have a photograph I posted a couple
Yes.
days ago.
Gorgeous
and
picture.
you can see a picture of his daughter standing in front of Niagara Falls, and there in the skies is a black skipper ship flying right overhead. And we got notification that it was the Ponte, it was the Toronto run.
Right.
So
All right, so this is a regular vehicle en route somewhere. We've got a blinking red and white light that I suspect is probably headed into the one of the local airports. Kirtland Air Force Base and the Albuquerque Airport share the same runways. Okay, so in daylight hours between 6:30 in the morning and 10:30 at night, and I don't know the specifics, it's public traffic. But after 10:30 at night, it's not public traffic, it's all military until the next morning. And so the Air Force Base gets the nighttime hours and the public gets the daytime use unless there's an emergency of some kind. We have had incidents within the past year of UFOs witnessed and photographed over the Kirtland Air Force Base. And for those people who confuse the Sandia Mountain and Sandia National Labs, we need to make a correction because a lot of people see the @Sandia Wisdom title for Twitter, for YouTube, and think it's associated with Sandia National Labs, not having any idea that there are thousands of businesses in this area whose title starts with Sandia. But going back to Kirtland Air Force Base sharing space with the Albuquerque airport, you have to go through the security gates at Kirtland Air Force Base to get to the entrance of Sandia National Labs. And then there's more security to go through. And so that's not in the Sandia Mountain. It's in the mountain chain to the south of the Sandia Mountains called the Manzanos. And in fact, there is another CE5 locally that's happening Saturday night into Sunday morning on the east side of the Manzanos, about 7 miles south of Tierras. So I got a notice that somebody else locally, and shout out to Joe, was doing that CE5 event. But we have an agenda for Kevin and his visits here because his time here is precious. We wanted to do CE5 tonight. He needs to go to Santa Fe tomorrow to visit some friends, and then, but tomorrow morning we're going to go up to the top of the Sandia Crest.
Yep.
And come back down because he's not done that.
Take some video and photography up
Oh
there
yeah.
from the Sandia Mountains.
Get you the view on the east side of the mountain, which is
And
very,
throw
very
some
different.
stones at radar and see if we can wake him up.
Well, and there are Sasquatch over there, and you can see where they mark for each other safe places to cross the road. And they do make structures because we have photographs of them, and it's all the same typical structures you see up in the mountains of Colorado. And the reason I know about them now is because I got educated on Mark Abel's Colorado Bigfoot YouTube channel on how to identify structures and what they mean. So if you haven't visited it yet, go to YouTube Colorado Bigfoot channel, and you too can learn how to identify Sasquatch building structures as different from dogmen structures, as different from the others kind of things, as different from the little woodman guys that are under 3 foot tall and what they build. But he'll teach you by the videos that he takes how to identify things like that. And it's worth learning. I think he's probably put in more hours than anybody else I know filming Sasquatch above 9,000 feet. There's not very many people who can say that they've put in more than 10,000 hours doing it. And he has become the world expert in those kinds of structures and what they mean. And now, every time he goes up, he lets them know he's coming into their territory, and they don't always run and hide. He's got some decent images.
I just saw something straight above. You see it?
Oh.
Straight ahead? It's blinking very
All right,
slowly
hang on.
It's headed south.
All right, so if it's blinking
on-
and headed south slowly,
Yep. It's not blinking.
all right, so we are observing the Big Dipper right here. All right, so the bowl of the Dipper is with the opening of the bowl to your right. The back side of the bowl is to your left. The handles of the bowl come more to the very apex of the sky, and it will spin around the North Star this way in a counterclockwise fashion. We have enough light pollution here that you can't see everything like you can if you go way out into the New Mexico desert. But
That's where I live.
yes, you do.
That's
You
cool.
do. She's off the grid way
A lot
out
of
there.
stuff out there.
And so she's got extraordinary views. Just extraordinary.
We just need to have a Klingon bird of prey come out of cloaking just right in front of us. That'd
Yeah,
be just
Klingon bird of prey.
great.
All right, so now's a good time to talk about protocols with when you have a partly cloudy sky like this. How do you invite them? What's the proper way to do that? And earlier, Kevin and I were talking about, do I use the same techniques as Dr. Stephen Greer? And the answer is no, I don't. And so I'm going to have Kevin, since he's attended Dr. Greer's
Courses.
CE5 course stuff,
Yes.
he can describe the difference between what Stephen Greer does and the casualness of what we do here.
Sure, yeah. With,
Oh, do you have a microphone on?
Yeah, my microphone's on, yeah.
Perfect.
So with Dr. Stephen Greer, it's a real meditative process. So the whole concept of CE5 is inviting star nations to interact with you, to visit you, in a positive positive manner, in a positive manner, with right-mindedness. And it's a matter of meeting. It's not, some military operation that's trying to, flash a UFO down to see if they can use it, some kind of technology to shoot it down and collect it for technology. No, this isn't. This is what this is not about. This is about peaceful interactions with our galactic neighbors. And with Dr. Greer, I attended his course, and it was fascinating that for the first half an hour, he just showed photographs of all these different beings who end up interacting with them in the different groups, where you would see different beings, some very human-like, who would be like, suspended in the air, kind of hovering between two people who are sitting, on chairs.
Wow. So are you talking about something that the camera could catch?
The camera
but that
definitely
people
catched.
could not catch with their
Eyes?
eyes?
Not necessarily with their eyes, no.
Right. Okay. So either they're out of phase with us, or trans-dimensional, if I can use that term, or something else is going on where the light spectrum is different enough from our eyesight spectrum that we just don't have that advantage. Do you know if any animals would pick up what Dr. Greer photographed? And has he ever talked about that?
No, he never
Okay.
did talk about animals.
Okay.
But he did talk about the different type of experiences of different consciousness that would, show up. And I remember one time where they showed a lake, and it was like all these blue orbs, like blue lights, just all of a sudden showed up all over the lake.
Oh, wow.
Just kind of hovering.
That'd be pretty.
Yeah, it was really pretty. But he for half an hour, he was showing, the evidence of the pictures of the different, beings who showed up during their CE5 protocols. But I'll talk a little bit about what the process is of what it is he does. So he got the whole group to do a meditation. So everyone's closing their eyes and breathing very slowly, and deep breaths in and out, and holding it, and breathing in and holding it, and slowly breathing out. And I think we probably did this for about 5 or 10 minutes.
Okay. You got everybody down in that receptive state.
Into that receptive state.
Okay.
Yeah. So that took a while to get everybody into that receptive state.
Sure, when you have a group.
Yeah.
Not a quick process.
And so then what he does is that he will take you up 100 feet. So now you are like you're looking down at yourself of the building of where you are,
Okay.
from say 100 feet, and envisioning what that looks like.
All right.
And then you'll bring yourself up 1,000 feet,
Okay.
and envisioning yourself from what you look like. And then you continuously bring yourself up higher, 10,000 feet,
Okay.
seeing what you look like from that point of view, from the Earth's point of view, because you want the star nations to see what it is of what that you are, where you are.
Okay.
They want to see
Got
where
it.
you are.
Got it. So you're sending them an image of a visual representation of your GPS location.
Exactly.
Exactly like you would if you put a pin on Google Earth and said, I'm
Exactly.
going to be here.
Exactly.
Got
I
it.
was thinking the drop pin.
Yes.
Yeah. And so it's kind of like you're also at the same time.
Oh,
But-
just that last bit was a little quiet for me.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Right. So like a drop pin. Right.
Like a drop in. Yeah. And so at the same time, what you're doing is you're actually bringing your consciousness as well to those points above the
Oh,
Earth.
sure you are.
Something
Right.
straight ahead above. You see it moving?
Yes, I sure do.
Oh yeah, we got something moving.
Okay. Does anybody see blinking lights on it at all?
No,
All
could be a
right.
satellite.
Yes. It likely is a satellite, given its steady movement. And while we don't know what it is, it's not in the Starlink.
Or was that because of the cloud?
Maybe the cloud.
That was probably a cloud because it's.
Here's another one moving, but
Yeah,
that's
you're right.
a normal trajectory. we frequently see flight paths going east over the mountain and west from the mountain
There's another one.
to Phoenix,
Over
to
this way.
Tucson,
Oh, there's
to
another one.
LA.
Yeah.
Yep, I see it.
That's another satellite?
Could possibly
No, I got a funny one over here though. All right, so see the bright one in what
Oh.
looks like an eye shape, and it just vanished.
be. It just vanished.
So
yeah.
watch the space, and it could be that it was not moving, the clouds were moving, and it gave the perception of the star moving.
Right.
All right, so back to Dr. Greer's inviting. So everybody's consciousness
Everybody's consciousness
was opened up.
is opened up. You're at an alpha state, relaxed, and you are slowly bringing your consciousness up to these different points above the earth from where you are, so that you can see what you are envisioning, for them to be able to envision where you're giving your translocation here on the planet.
Got
And
it.
eventually you'll move yourself up until you're like above the clouds, and then above the earth.
Right.
As far as
Sure.
far as you can go.
Sure, you're going into higher and higher orbits.
Higher and higher orbits. And then from that point, Dr. Greer would then say very calmly, introducing himself, and that we, my name is, Dr. Greer. My name is Stephen, and we come in peace, and we'd like to meet you. I can't remember the exact words of what he said, but that's kind of the idea, and maintaining this meditative state, and staying within that meditative state, and that's how they would, these are how these protocols would basically work.
Sure. So then you have group energy doing the same thing, the same exercise at the same time, moving toward more of a single consciousness, or at least repeat images of the same location that they're trying to send, so that the chances that any telepathic nation would pick them up would be higher.
Yeah, and I think it's very important because the first time that we did a CE5 was with a few of the Twitter followers, and we went to a very cool location that was sitting kind of on a hill where we could have a lot of view, and I knew that the Ponte were planning on showing up, but when we had the CE5, one of the Twitter followers had invited his mother and another relative, like father-in-law or something like that, there as well.
Yeah.
And I don't think they were as serious as it was that we were.
Okay.
And even though, like myself and I think it was Javid is his name,
Yes.
and he and I did a meditation together, but we didn't have the full consciousness of the whole entire group.
So you never got a cohesive whole.
We never got a cohesive whole. And I think that the two others that were there was kind of more for like entertainment for them. I don't know how serious they were. Yeah, kind of like testing. And so nothing ever happened at that CE5.
Okay.
It was very disappointing. And I asked you afterwards about it, and you got feedback from Grayson that he said that the energy was wrong. So that's why Dr. Greer has the protocols as he does, to get everyone into the right state of consciousness as one consciousness, who want to have contact and who have the right intentions. Because they pick it up. Telepathy is
Right.
deeper than you can even imagine. They
Right.
can pick up on subconscious thoughts. They can pick up on memories of what your kids wore at Halloween when they were like 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking from experience.
Mm-hmm.
But telepathy is very deep. So you have to be honest with yourself, and have your own emotional honesty, because they see that.
I just saw a blur that almost reminded me of heat lightning, but it was a specific finger width and partially between two clouds, and then it was gone. And there was no color to it, but it was a form of light or lightning that I didn't expect to see. And we don't have any storm systems in the state right now that I'm aware of. And so what heat lightning, quote unquote, is a misnomer. Lightning is lightning, and it comes from a storm no matter if that storm is 10 miles away and you can't see it. There's no such thing as the heat generating the lightning. The heat can help juice up a storm front that creates the lightning. But heat lightning is a misnomer. So we saw a flat, wide, visual, moving streak about as bright as the clouds, or I did rather, and there and gone. I've got a blinking light over in the direction of the North Star area. It blinks and then it's gone, and blinks and then it's gone. It's very faint. And it does, I'm watching for it to see if it moves anywhere. It's awfully far away if it is.
You know what's funny?
What?
This cloud above us looks like the Grinch giving us the finger.
Yes, it does. I see the finger right here. Oh my goodness. I've been watching the cloud shapes bemusedly also. And I find watching clouds as an adult a blast. I really do. Only because now I know that the cloud images that get created in the sky are not pareidolia, they're purposeful. We've learned a couple of things. One, the Ponti tell us that any and all Star Nation ships that come into Earth's atmosphere have the capability of creating a cloud around the ship. That's just a normal standard thing. But also, they let us know that they can create that cloud in whatever shape they'd like. And so, can they create a cloud and then use it to form a face? Yes, they can. All right. But we also know that there's consciousness behind the clouds.
What about this one moving? Is that a satellite?
Good question.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
It's high.
Yeah, it looks like it could be a satellite.
It does look like it could be a satellite.
Not coming from that direction usually.
If it's a jet that's military, yes, it could be that high. If it's coming from, say, LAX and going to someplace in Texas, that's awfully high. It's possible, but usually we would see them lower than what that indicates. But the path is right. I just saw another streak.
Going quick though. I think, the speed is a little quick.
Yes,
Yeah.
I do agree with you, and that makes me think of satellite again, rather than jet. Hey, don't crane your neck all in one direction. Move it around so you don't have a stiff neck tomorrow.
Okay, some lawn chairs.
Yes, I wish we had some lawn chairs with a neck rest and back rest.
Well, Mel, why don't you tell us some more about your experiences?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I can do that. Do you know anyone else locally that is also an experiencer of ETs that lives in the Albuquerque area?
I do know of somebody that, she came to me with a story, and she told me she used to live across the street from a park, and it was late at night, about this time, and there was a street light near the park that kind of, you can see a little bit of the basketball court, etc., and the playground. And she said she went outside and she looked across in the playground, and she said that she saw an alien extraterrestrial type being with large eyes, but it looked like her.
It looked like her.
It looked like her, and
Huh.
it was looking at her.
Okay.
I don't want to say it, but she said it was a female.
Okay, so she was looking at her.
Was looking at her.
Wow.
And she said, you know, I really felt like maybe that was my daughter coming to visit me. And
you know,
so
people don't say things like that lightly.
no, they don't.
They
And
really
that's
don't.
Just not
So-
something
no,
that
that's
you would make
that's
up.
that's a bizarre enough statement that it takes a lot of guts to be able to say that out loud.
Yeah.
And so,
So I
when people say things like that to me, I tend to just believe that they're telling me their truth.
Right. Yeah. And you know, I've had other people come to me, even within my family. They mention things to me that they had not otherwise shared with anybody else. I think it is because I am open to
Yes.
that topic
Sure.
and subject.
Right.
So there are definitely other people around that have shared stories with me. One other person we had set up in the yard to make an intentional contact,
Okay.
and it wasn't filmed, you know, it was just, you know, private, both of us. And we did a meditation to have our intention set together that we wanted to communicate. And from there, I volunteered myself as a conduit, as a learning tool, you know,
Okay.
like for them to learn through me.
Nice.
And so in that moment, within minutes after I was already, you know, in meditation state of mind, I just felt completely almost empty. Like I felt no feeling, I felt no emotion, I felt nothing.
Wow, that would be different for you. You're very empathic.
I am my mind's always going,
Yeah.
I'm always like active, but like in this
So
state of
bizarre absence
mind,
of sound coming
just
from the
emotionless.
universe.
Yeah. And from there, you know, the yard was full of wood chips.
Okay.
As we would see as bark,
Right.
you know. So me being in this state of mind, I was awake and aware, but I was in a different state of, like I was in a different state of mind.
Okay.
Right. I was in the back seat of my car at that point.
Okay.
So I kneeled down to the ground and I picked up a wood chip piece of bark and I held it in my left hand and I just stared at it, you know, for at least a couple of minutes.
Wow.
And, you know, that's something I wouldn't normally do because I know what bark is and, you know, it's not something that I would just stare at. But I caught myself doing this and then I realized that they were learning through me and through my eyes. You know, they were learning through my eyes of
Sure.
what this object was.
Sure.
What is it? What does it do? You know, what is
What
it
do you
made
use
of?
it for? Yeah.
Why is it there? What's
Uh-huh.
the purpose of it?
Uh-huh.
And then so I saw myself, because I'm very, very visual, and I do get visions, and so I could see myself. I could see them looking through my eyes as a television, just as if we were to look at a computer.
Yep.
And so from there, I communicated with them. I said, "Where are you?" And you know, and then my hand dropped the piece of bark,
Okay.
and then my hand all of a sudden turned into a pointer finger.
All right.
Okay. And then so from there, my hand started slowly moving upwards to point to the sky.
Got it.
And I was still in this meditative state of mind. And then my sense of being just started, and I lived by the Kirkland Air Force Base at this time.
Right.
Okay. And so my finger just keeps pointing up and up and up, and I look directly above me, and I see, you know, it looks just like this. You know, there's clouds, but it's not, you know, completely full. What I saw above me was a donut-shaped cloud, circular, right above me. But guess what? The donut-shaped, right in the middle of the circle was empty, and I could see the night sky, and around it was just clouds.
Oh.
And they said, we are here, so I was like, oh. And so we kind of had this like connection of, they're not here to hurt me. Like, they just want to learn through me. And I was completely open to that. And so I think that's why they kind of like peeking around with me and hanging out, because I'm open to experiences, And so
I have to share with you
okay, please.
the donut-shaped cloud story.
Okay, and I saw it another time,
Yep.
other
All right.
than that
So
too.
a Navajo healer by the name of Garrett Duncan had come on a Saturday morning to visit, and my friend Ann was here, and we were standing right almost exactly at this spot in the backyard, right where we are right now, and talking about the Ponte and creating cloud camouflage, and that the common phrase when you're on the ground and you don't know exactly which cloud your ship is in is to hello the clouds and ask with that hello the clouds phrase for the pilot to blink its ship lights. So that's the very technical term. Blink is the technical term for having them blink back at you so you know where your ship and your pilot are. All right. So I'm sharing this information with Ann and Garrett, and Garrett flings out his arms wide and he says, well, they can show us that they're here, right now. Hello, the clouds. And suddenly, a quarter mile up, straight above us, a donut-shaped cloud. We all three watch it form with the hole in the middle, and it forms a complete donut, and it's a windy day, and a moment later the wind catches it and elongates it, and the donut becomes a C shape. And we're all laughing and giggling and knowing that the Ponte are messing with us, because it was right there, immediately, right on cue. And so we're laughing about it, watching this donut dissipate, and the pilot did it again. He repeated the exact same donut in the exact same position, right a quarter mile above us.
That's just coincidence.
Yes. So that was my friend Ann's first experience with real-time, daytime, 10 o'clock on a Saturday morning, about this time in the middle of summer, going, hello, the clouds. So that's the difference. We were talking about Stephen Greer's protocol versus what do we do?
Yeah.
And first of all, you have to understand that, one, Otter and I create a protected space around our entire property that is live 24/7, 365. It's a triple protected space, and we've been taught energetically how to do that. Two, we have an open door policy for any right-minded star nation to come experience things that and leisurely experience things here in our yard without fear that we're going to call anybody about it or report them, without fear of them, and inviting them to sample things from the garden that we grow, or come into the house and see how we live, or ask questions of any kind that they would like. So we have an open door policy. And because of that, and because our house frequently is visited, and because we are friends with a female Ponte that we met first by the name of Drudy, who, as one of their head liaisons, knows Star Nation folks from all over and is a bit of a talk people up kind of gal. And so Star Nations gossip. And the word about people who, Earth humans who've opened their houses to the Star Nations spreads around. And so we have this constant open door policy and constant traffic. And it's nothing for us to catch a glimpse of somebody walking by and go, oh, hey. And there's no fear in it anymore. I lost and Otter lost our fear of their contact. Probably less than 6 months after Teal'c had first contacted us back in 2013. I admit I went through a period of time of angst. And I went through another period of time of angst when Teal'c started teaching us the archaeoplanetography, and we started marking it on Google Earth, and then we started to get hacked by militaries from around the planet. And that bothered me and upset me. And so we had to get to the point of being okay that we could be listened to by anybody at anywhere, when, anytime that they wanted. And so if we have stuff that we want to keep private, it doesn't go on electronic devices. And if we have conversations that we don't want listened in on, we go way out in the back of the garden where nobody is and don't carry our cell phones with us.
Yeah.
So if you feel like you want to invite them to your property for your own CE5, we recommend a couple of things. One, know what your property looks like from the air, from the sky. And if you don't know, go on Google Earth and do exactly what Dr. Greer did and look at varying heights above your home or wherever you're going to have your CE5 to see what it looks like from the air. Do offer them your GPS coordinates or your address if you know it, so that they can be very specific about where they're going with no question. And so if you're going to have a CE5 in a national park and the national park is huge, make sure that you pinpoint where you're going to be so that they know. If you can, mark a new location with light. So whether that's you line up a half a dozen flashlights to form a big white X on the ground, or you start a big bonfire and let them know that you've lit a bonfire so that that's what they're looking for. It helps identify. It's kind of like turning on your porch light for the delivery man. Okay, same idea. You're just trying to make it easy for them. And then the where, the exact date, time zone, and time. And if you know of who's going to be there with you, have everybody in your group send out this wonderful invitation of, hey, we're going to be here at this date, at this time, between these hours. We'd love for you to show up. Oh, and by the way, we're going to mark a good spot for you so you can see it from the air with a big white X with our flashlights. And I hope they won't burn out before we have to go home, but they should be okay. And so that sort of courtesy of instructing an out-of-town person to go to a new location so that they feel comfortable that they're going to get to the right location. It's always a good idea. We know the Pontee well enough that we just holler at the mountain and say, guys, we're getting together at 8:30 tonight, come on over please. And we'd love to have you. So that's why our casualness with it is the open door policy. But they've been here before, they know where they're going. We don't have to go through a lot of the folderol, but we still invite them right-mindedly with as much leeway ahead of time so that they have time to put it on their busy schedule. They have busy lives too. A lot of people on, and by the way, we just passed 20,000 followers on Twitter
Yeah, that's right.
just within this past week.
Yeah.
And so now we have 20,000 individuals from around the planet who potentially have read the website and understand the protocol and maybe have gone through the Telepathy 101 primer and learned the right way versus the wrong way of inviting somebody. So we keep it casual and we just treat them like our next door neighbors because they are. Our sky is filling in with more clouds, guys. Not that that's a bad thing, but we are approaching, it's almost 10, and just wanted to let you know time-wise where we're at. We've seen some interesting and anomalous lights. Oh, that's the other thing. Did Dr. Greer let his CE5 experiencers know that the CE5 event doesn't end that night? It follows them home, and there is a higher potential of them learning in the next 2 weeks or being visited at home in the next 2 weeks than if they had not attended the CE5?
To be honest, I don't remember.
Okay.
It was a long time ago when I took that course.
Sometimes when we invite them, they don't have time on their schedules to show up right when we ask. But they make note that they got invited and show up later. And within 10 days or 2 weeks, that's not unusual. Kind of like your dream stuff started. We've had, I don't know how many people describe that. The other thing that I know takes, well, that's a good firework, that takes people by surprise, and you may be able to describe this, your own experience with this, Kevin, is especially the guys. When they first experience one of the female Ponti, especially if it's Drury, they get this overwhelming feeling of unconditional love, so strong it's got no comparison in their entire life. And they are overwhelmed by the sheer amount of love that they are capable of feeling and that an ET is capable of projecting. And that's new. They don't expect that. And it really can do a number on them. Have you, in your experience, when you think back to your first in-person stuff with any of the female Star Nation visitors, did you ever experience that deep love?
It was when they threw the tea party for me in Arkansas.
Oh, you're going to have to tell that story. Mel doesn't know that story.
Oh my goodness. Hang on for you. See, Indiana, we go for a ride. Oh, okay. So it was the Ozark UFO conference. I think it was 2017 or 18.
Eureka Springs?
Eureka Springs.
Yes.
Yep. And I'll tell you, Arkansas is one paranormal place. But I knew that the Ponti said they were going to be showing up at this conference.
They were adamant that I tell him that they were going to come. They were absolutely, I've never seen them quite that adamant before.
Yeah, and that there would actually be boots on the ground. And that, and Peter
multiple
was there,
boots on the ground.
Grayson was there.
At the
Radar
conference
was there.
to see him, to watch things.
And that they were apparently they were in the building as well, invisible, as they were there participating and stuff. And I was really hoping to be able to see, somebody, and or at least see a ship or something like that. But nothing like that did happen.
He thinks.
Well, at least
he thought.
I thought, yeah. But it was about a week or two after I got back from the Arkansas, UFO conference, when I had this, all of a sudden I had this kind of this flash memory that came back. And I stayed with a friend in a motel, and the motel had like a bedroom, and then it had a side room, like a party room off to the side, which had like a long couch and a love seat and a couple other things like that too. And I slept on the couch. And
It's booking, but it's blinking. So it is very likely a jet. I'm not hearing anything. And it just entered into the cloud. If it's got a straight trajectory, it will come out heading
okay.
in that direction, but it's not. There. I just saw a flash. So,
Okay, yeah.
yeah.
Oh.
Anyway, go ahead with your story.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so it was like a party room, and I slept on the couch,
There it
and
is.
I remember having this memory of being woken to radar jumping up and down at the end of the couch where my feet were, and him saying, party time, wake up, wake up. And I'm like, what the heck is this? Why am I having this memory? And so then I messaged Sue, privately on Twitter, and immediately radar, she was translating for radar.
Oh, dear God, the answer that came back.
And radar said, dude, yeah, we partied, we laughed, and you snorted tea out your nose. When do you want to do it again?
They were taking bets on how long it would take him.
How long would it take
To-
me for the memories to come back?
Yep, for the
Yeah, we were
memories to
placing
surface
memories.
in detail.
Yeah,
How many days?
yeah, we were placing bets on it. And this is what
We
he
were.
said. Now, what happened though, Mel, was when he said those words, you snorted tea out your nose, that triggered the memory.
Everything.
Everything went flooding like a movie trailer. It felt like a 3-minute movie trailer that I remembered every single detail to it. My side thoughts, the telepathic messages, the sounds of their voices, how loud their telepathic voices were, everything came to me. And so basically here I am. I'm sitting on the couch. It was a tea party they were throwing for me, and there's the love seat there in front of me. Radar was sitting right across from me. Tilcom was sitting next to him. Drudy was sitting on my right-hand side, and I didn't know at the time because he was in the back. It was Grayson.
Yep.
Important
Leaning against the
detail.
wall with his arms crossed.
Yeah, with his arms crossed. This is important.
Yeah, it was just going like this. Okay.
So I remember Radar was talking. Well, actually, first thing, because you asked about the emotions, what emotions I felt from
Oh yeah,
them.
right.
The first thing I remember of this memory was the telepathic emotion that I was feeling, because they were sharing it with me. We were all sharing the same emotion, and it was what they call a telepathic hug of light. So the most most visual way I can describe it is, you've probably seen the movie E.T. the Extraterrestrial. You know when his chest lights up with that light? That is what it looks like. That's what it feels like, in the sense of this warmth, of this glowingness, of complete happiness, of oneness, of camaraderie, friends, family, togetherness, and complete bliss. Like it's being it feels like being at the best part of your life. Let's say you've been drinking a lot or whatever, and you're like, it's just the best party you've ever had. That's what it felt like. But so that's what I remember, that feeling of that hug of light. And then Radar was talking. He was talking about some incident that took place in the hangar bay, where he was like trying to hot rod Delta Dawn, and something went wrong, and he is then all of a sudden running around the hangar bay looking for Del, the technician. And then, while he's telling the story, oh no, actually it wasn't Radar who was telling the story, it was Tilcom. Tilcom
right.
was telling the story
About radar.
about Radar. And then this voice,
bright light straight above. I'm waiting for it to show up again.
okay, so this voice interrupts Tilcom, and it was a deep voice that said,
Very deep.
only said one word. It said, Brinkman. And he sounded exactly like Leonard Nimoy, like Spock. And this is, like, mind you, this is a side thought that I'm having that I remembered very vividly. I was thinking, when did Spock enter the room? And then I remember Jason, who is one of the Twitter followers, talked about Grayson having a very deep voice.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, I was thinking, and the other thing about it was what he said. It was the word Brinkman, because it was Grayson and I that came up with the nickname Brinkman for radar, and that happened about a month or so before that, because Grayson gave this beautiful poetic explanation of describing radar and radar's sense of brinkmanship, living on the borderline of
Always on the edge.
always on the edge.
Testing the edge.
Testing the edge. And so we made up this joke about you should name one of your ships the Brinkman. Get it? Brinkman ship. And so Grayson thought that was a great idea.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna name one of the ships Brinkman. But then we just shortened the nickname, to radar as Brinkman. So when Grayson's voice interrupted Tilcom's, saying Brinkman, describing radar running around like a chicken with his head cut off, looking for Dell, that's when I realized, Grayson? And then I look behind me, and then he looks at me to see if I recognized him. And at that point, I had taken a mouthful of tea. And then I went like that, and I snorted tea out my nose, all in the direction of radar.
So Radar's got all this
Tea
tea snot all
over him. And everybody bursts out in laughter.
Oh, he busts the gut.
And apparently Trudy was like in total shock, didn't know what to think
No,
of it.
she didn't know what to do, but Radar started laughing so hard.
Radar was laughing so hard.
Snorting his way off the couch.
He snorted himself off the couch. And I'll never forget seeing him, like his head was literally going like,
Oh, man.
like that. It was slipping off the
he could barely
like
get
that.
his
He
breath.
couldn't
He was
control
laughing so
himself.
hard.
He was
Oh,
laughing
God.
so hard. Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. And I'm laughing so hard, and I'm so embarrassed. These extraterrestrials who come 40 light years away, and what do? I snort tea on them. I did not expect that.
You can't make this stuff up.
No. Kudos to Grayson. Like, he's got ways, man. He's got ways. And so that was just, and then, like, I remember looking at Radar, and then Radar's looking at me. And the thing is, I had two memories of Radar. I remember him with his eyes, without his visors, very big blue eyes, very beautiful eyes. And the next thing I remember him talking to me, his visors are closed. And I feel like I'm talking to Spider-Man, because his mouth doesn't move, right? Just these visors. And he looks like
okay,
Spider-Man.
all right, I
And
get
he says
that.
to me, he says, "That's so cool." Or so, "I've never seen one of you do that before."
Yeah, snort tea.
That's so cool.
Snort anything out your nose, right?
And I'm like, I was not expecting the answers. And I start laughing my ass off again. Everybody's in hysterics,
Oh.
And then I remember I couldn't let Radar have the last laugh. And so I remember I was like leaning into my left hand, looking at him. And I said, "Yeah, well, you're the first ET I've ever heard snort before, so I guess we're even." And then everybody starts laughing their asses off again.
It was a good tea party.
But I remember their voices, like Radar's voice is kind of a cross between Nicolas Cage and
Woody
Kevin
Harrelson?
Spacey,
Oh,
or Woody Harrelson.
Yep,
Woody
that's
Harrelson's
the other
very
one I
close
hear
to it.
his voice compared to.
Yeah, and Grayson was definitely, he sounded like Leonard Nimoy.
Yes,
Um,
he's got that deep bass voice.
Flash of light.
Where?
Is that a plane right above? That does look like.
Let's
oh, it's a
find out.
plane. Yeah, it's a plane up there. Yeah.
Okay.
All I saw was red at first. There it is.
Yeah, it's a flat plane. But I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that, because that was something they allowed me to remember, that experience. But I remember that feeling, that emotion, that telepathic feeling. And I had another incident where the Ponte showed up in my condo, where I was lying in bed, and all of a sudden, like, I'm in like this. And it's in between sleep and in between awake.
Yeah.
So you're not dreaming, but you're kind of asleep. And I felt at least 5 pairs of hands resting on me. One in this leg, one in this leg, one in this arm, one in this arm. And the one that was resting on this arm was kind of like doing this, like that.
Oh.
Okay?
Yeah.
And I was like basically like brushing like this.
Keep an ear out behind you toward the garden. I've heard things 2 or 3 times now.
Oh, okay.
Like I've got leaves or twigs snapping, or
I've heard that.
yes, bark moving.
I've heard that, and I've actually sensed
Yes.
energetically some things
Right,
back there kind
right.
of peeking in.
I think
Okay.
so. It
But
gets. I
I'm glad
get
you
that
said
feeling.
something.
Nope, but I've heard it 3 or 4 times, almost like somebody is walking through the area and you just occasionally hear a piece of bark move or
You know,
something snap.
when I pulled in, I was parking and I saw through one of the side mirrors of the vehicle.
Yeah.
A reflection of a shadow,
Oh,
and
they're
I
here.
looked back and I didn't see anything.
Right.
And I said, "Oh, okay, someone's here already."
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So I came in.
People are always astonished when we talk about the Sasquatch or the Ponte just showing up. And I don't think any of us really truly understand the multidimensional nature of the Sasquatch's ability to go from point A to point B. And it's not exactly a linear thing that you can track. And I don't understand what they do and how they do it. And what I mean by that is we have a lot of witnesses who talk about the Sasquatch walking across the space, and step after step after step, they become more and more and more see-through, and then finally invisible. We have a number of descriptions of that. We have footage that shows a see-through Sasquatch or Sasquatch family. I've seen that. We have witnesses who describe a literal circle of sparkly light and the Sasquatch walking through it. We also know that Mike Patterson up in Ontario, who you know,
Yep.
has been interacting with a Sasquatch family, and in particular a male Sasquatch who is now about 25-ish, by the name of Nefertia. Now, I may have his age wrong, and if I do, I apologize, but Nefertia and he have been interacting since 2013, maybe? He'd be able to tell you in his first videos.
About that, sounds about right.
So Sasquatch Ontario is Mike Patterson, and he recorded Nefertia's voice, and then he tried to befriend Nefertia and teach him English words like his name Mike. Or he'll point to a tree and go, tree. And so Nefertia began to repeat the words that Mike was teaching him. And so they began a communication of sorts. And then Mike tried doing some other communication techniques. He got a great big sketch pad and a big marker.
North over there?
Where?
See that? Yeah, very high, yeah.
Very high, moving north.
Okay.
Northeast?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, okay.
Yeah, that could be a satellite.
Yeah,
event,
that's satellite-ish for me.
Yeah.
Just because of
A
the
lot
straight
higher.
north-south trajectory. Very
Yeah.
high, yeah. So what he ended up doing with his trial and error of communication techniques, he learned that the Sasquatch didn't like the trail cams, but they didn't mind his audio microphones by themselves. In fact, they kind of liked to mess with them. But while he didn't want to keep trying trail cam after trail cam and failure after failure, he tried a different technique. He went and got a disposable camera and went to the gifting place that he had for Nefertia and showed it to him and said, I'm going to leave this here. I would like you to, when you want to show me your world, press this button on the top and it will take a picture. And then he left. And a few hours later, he comes back and there's pictures on the camera. The camera's still there, or it's been returned there, we didn't know, but there are pictures on the camera. At the time, it was deep in the winter, at 2 o'clock in the morning, dark, dark, dark in the middle of the forest, where he set the camera. But the pictures show daylight and fall colors and greenery and what looks like a mesh between the camera lens and whatever the picture that he's taking is of. And every single picture had this weird mesh in front of it, but clearly was of a different season, different time of the day, and I sat back when I saw that and started looking at the content of what is Nefertia taking a picture of, what is he trying to show. But if you want to go to see the pictures that Sasquatch took, go to the YouTube channel of Mike Patterson's Sasquatch Ontario. And he gave him the camera and had him take pictures more than once, if I remember right. Recently, middle of May, that's how recent, Mike Patterson was given the instruction by Nefertia finally that he could release a close-up image of Nefertia's face that was taken by the landowner in 2019. They've been sitting on these photos for 4 years. And they finally got permission specifically. And so if you want to see the greatest detail close-up of a face of a Sasquatch, the pictures, there are 2 of them that were clear, taken from 10 feet away. And the landowner had heard something outside and took his camera out, couldn't see anything but randomly snapped pictures. And so Nefertia is standing behind a fence with his arm resting on top of the fence and his chin resting on his arm. In the first picture he's smiling, but the second picture he's got this big grin on his face like he's posing for the camera. So,
That one?
Yeah, that's the one. Yep.
yes, that's exactly the one.
That's the one she-
So this is what Nefertia looks like.
There's 2 pictures side by side.
Oh.
So that's Neph. And so I have a beginning rough draft of a drawing of that picture of Neph doing a portrait for Mike. But the distinct nature of the nose was
Yeah.
unexpected, and the
Yep.
intense details in the cheekbones and the lines beneath the eyes were very distinct. And I thought, whoa, whoa, that's really cool to see that close and in that kind of detail. So when I talked to the Ponti about the Sasquatch, because they'd told us a year ago that the Sasquatch would be the first nation to allow themselves to be filmed up close and personal. And after that, shortly after that, the Star Nations would start doing that. And so we encourage everybody out there to keep your cameras ready, or if you have motion sensing cameras for a room, an area, a space, turn them on, and if you capture some good footage, send it to us. We will share it with everybody. And we'd love to see it. And you don't have to give your name if you want to remain anonymous. That's no problem. But the fact of the matter is, they have told us to be ready, that the information about Star Nations is about ready to exponentially go viral across the planet in a number of fashions. And so it'll be photos, it'll be videos, it will be interviews, it will be recordings. Just look for all kinds of things, and not just one Star Nation either.
Yeah.
So people sometimes have the mistaken idea that the Ponti are in charge of Earth's official first contact. They're not at all.
No,
They
they've been pretty
were-
frustrated too.
Yeah, they're the messengers, and they've wanted our OFC, our official first contact, to be done already, 4 years ago. They were so ready. And the Federation Communications Division, because they're an information station, they answer to the Communications Division of the Federation. And they get explain to them what they are allowed to say and what they aren't, and allowed to do at this point in time and what they're not. So they're following instructions from higher up the chain of command. But the Federation is getting really ready to present things. And that will open up real quickly with information about new stuff that they're allowing to be released about the moon and on the moon, as well as footage on Mars that makes you go, really? And the snippets of things that they capture that are remnants of civilization on Mars are still findable. So.
Oh yeah, I've got lots of photos on my camera of
Yep.
anomalies on Mars.
Yeah. Well, folks, it's starting to get later. It's 20 after 10, and you've had a long day. I know I've had a long day.
Yeah.
I can't speak for Mel down there, but I think it would be still okay to invite the Ponte to visit us, and if any of us get in-person visits and experiences, we can describe it to each other and make sure that it gets put out onto Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Discord, whatever.
Yeah.
YouTube.
Yeah.
Oh, I just saw a flash.
I think I saw
Yes.
that too.
You
Yeah.
saw that too?
Yeah,
There it
well,
goes.
there it is. Oh
Yeah.
my God, straight over us.
It was.
Yes, and bright.
There
Oh,
it is
there.
again. You see it?
Yeah.
Hello, you're not a
Hi.
plane.
Blink, blink.
Well,
Blank,
hello, the
blank.
clouds.
There it goes again.
How are you?
Catch it
Oh, you got a camera? Do we have a camera on that?
on camera. Straight ahead.
Where are
There it
you?
goes again.
Come on back, blink, blink, please.
We're still
Good
there.
catch. There it is.
Yep.
Can you blink a little stronger for our cameraman, please,
It
so
just
he can
stopped.
find you? No, no,
Don't
no,
come
don't
back.
stop, please.
I'll come back.
Oh, okay, it's flashed
Yep,
again.
please blink, blink again. There's one.
I see it. I see it.
Faint. There's been a lot of interesting things captured in the Albuquerque sky space, and no matter if you point your night vision cameras to the west, to the east, at the mountain, to the south. Oh, by the way, the interstellar flight path coming to the Sandia station goes from southwest to northeast. And Thursday is delivery day. We frequently see clouds that form over the mountain on a Thursday afternoon and sit there for 5 or 6 hours and then suddenly dissipate.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
So I have another, I guess, silly story.
Yeah?
So I don't sleep with night lights on, but one in the middle of the night, the night light was plugged in. Before I went to bed, it was sitting on the nightstand.
Oh! So somebody took
Somebody
effort
took
to
it
actually plug
and
it
plugged
in
it in.
to the socket. That's fascinating.
And I unplugged it. I said, I don't want that plugged in. And I plugged it.
Oh, tell Mel about Grace and what he did with your guitars.
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah, tell me.
Okay, all right. So, Grayson and my guitars. So, one day I picked up one of my guitars, which is my Gibson Les Paul Gothic, and I have it already tuned down fairly low. It's it's a drop D tuning, which is like a Tool thing and Foo Fighters thing. Okay,
Yeah, I'm a
and
musician.
there you go. Cool. There you go. And so then it's dropped down another whole step to drop C. So I picked up my guitar one day and it just had this rich sound to it. And I couldn't figure out what it was. And I just started playing, and this song was just, you know, coming out of nowhere. You know, I was writing a whole entire song in one take. And that first song was actually, it's not released, but it's called Gray Sphere of Influence. Yeah, Sphere of Influence, Gray Sphere of Influence.
Great sphere of influence. Good one.
Yeah, and
Double
so
entendre,
afterwards I
very
was
nice.
trying to figure out, thinking, my guitar, there's something different about it. I don't remember my guitar being tuned like this. And then I checked the tuning, and it was dropped down from low C to like almost low A, so another whole step and a half. It was really low. But then when I used my tuner, because I have it tuned to 432 hertz, it was showing up as like C sharp. So it was not correct. It was some kind of like, not even C sharp, it was like halfway between C sharp. So I didn't know I had to find out what frequency it was tuned to. And so I downloaded a frequency generator, and then I was checking the tuning of the guitar, and to my shock, it synchronized when I tuned to 528 hertz solfeggio frequency. The guitar was tuned to 528 hertz. So I was like, my God, what the heck is going on here? And so then I started writing all these songs in this new tuning. And I found out that it was Grayson who actually retuned my guitar. He physically retuned my guitar to see if I would come up, it would inspire me to write different music. And then I ended up writing a whole bunch of songs. And then there's another time where he retuned my guitar again. But what he did is he tuned it up just a whole step from low A to low B, but it was still 528 hertz. So he just took it up one notch to see if would it make a difference. And then I end up writing the song Echoes of Peter Steele, which is a tribute to Peter Steele of Typo Negative, because the sound of that tuning sounded like what their tunings was at. So it inspired that song. But there was one time when I was doing an interview, I was interviewing Sue, and then Grayson interrupted the interview to talk to me.
Yes.
And he said, so how's that new tuning working? And then he went on to explain, he said, Kevin, you write to the soup, that is exceptionally rare. He says, you purposely write your music for the soup.
For the telepathic collective consciousness.
For the telepathic collective consciousness. And then he started talking about how to write the music in this new tuning. And he kept referring to the low E string as a apostrophe.
Yes. An emphasis.
Emphasis. He was describing it as a Shakespearean play of this coming back to that note, because it was such a low note, and to then use that to bring it back to make people go say, what was that? Kind of reaction.
Yeah, the full circle.
A full circle. And so that, after he taught me how to play or to transpose or what he wanted me to specifically work on with this tuning, then I wrote the song called Arcturian Sunset, which is the last song on my album Cosmic Angels. And that's where I actually was using that last note to bring things back. Because I'd be playing in a certain key, and then I would play the same chord, yet then I would be hitting this low B, low note that would change the sound of the chord, and it would bring it back to something else. So, he completely taught me how to play in this new tuning. But I can't make this up. Like basically half my album, Cosmic Angels, is written in alien tuning, essentially. So there you go.
That's cool.
So do you feel like you channeled the music as well as the conduit?
All the music on my last album was all written in one take.
Nice.
Every
That's
single
just
song
amazing to me.
was written in one take, no edits.
Right.
That's just so rare.
Yeah.
Totally rare.
And that's Going to the Edge of the Black.
And have you learned what that frequency, and I mean I have an idea, of course, but what is your take on that frequency and what it's doing?
528 hertz is apparently it's a DNA healing frequency. So that's, and for some reason he wanted me to play in that frequency.
Yeah.
I mean, for myself, between 528 hertz or 432, 432 resonates more with me, and I feel more comfortable in that tuning. But I did the 528 because, you know, if he wanted me to experiment with it. So
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Frequency of love.
Yeah. Isn't that neat?
yeah,
That's just awesome. Well, guys, it's 10:30, and I say let's wrap it up for this CE5
yeah.
hour and a half or so.
Yeah. very
And
nice blink,
thank
though.
whoever was up there blinking at us just 5 minutes ago. And thank you both for sharing your stories and your experiences with the Punty so openly. That's just wonderful. I would love to interview some other people that have experiences and have them tell their stories.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of people around the planet now who have marvelous experiences. And some are hilarious. And those hilarious ones go on the YouTube channel Close Encounters of the Pontail Kind, hosted by Kevin Estrella here, as well as his
My
friend
buddy
Wookie from Australia.
Yeah.
So if you want to hear Close Encounters of the Hilarious Kind, and they're real stories, just go to their YouTube channel. And we had Jan Prohaska in Czechoslovakia
Yep. Yeah.
kindly illustrate those stories with some very wonderful but amusing illustrations.
Yeah. They really
And so
bring the story together.
he helps with the storytelling. He really, truly does. And shout out to the Czech Republic, because of all the places that we've talked to people in Europe, the Czech Republic was the most open, the most forward-thinking, the most willing to accept the information about star nations and hungry for that interaction with them. And not just a small group of people either. There's a huge following in the Czech Republic. And so shout out to those wonderful folks. We've spoken at some of their conferences online and listened to some of their experiences, and they have marvelous stories too. So, and we also have an individual on Twitter who is collecting Ponty interaction contact stories, and at the bottom of this video we'll try and remember to put that link so that if you have a story to share, you can contact this individual on Twitter. I'm tired enough that my brain is forgetting who that is at the moment, but we will get it down there on the link. So, all right, my good people, thank you to our wonderful cameraman
Yes,
who's
thank you,
been
Dale.
wandering around the backyard with camera and looking up and helping us with all the complexities of electronics and trying out new hardware and software for the first time ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But thank you for volunteering your time. Thank you for coming all the way from Canada, and thank you for coming across town and joining us. And Kevin and Dale have both expressed an interest in meeting you. So,
Yes, thank you for having me. And
oh, glad you
allowing me
contacted
to
us.
share
So,
my stories.
all right,
Yes,
we will
thank
say
you.
good night to you all, and thank you for watching. As always, helps everybody if you hit like and subscribe. Take care, and
Keep your eyes to the skies.
don't
Yes.
be afraid of
Just
doing
look
your
up.
own CE5.
Just look
Keep
up.
looking up. That's right. All right. Good night, everybody.